fasting is one of the quickest ways to break through a plateau. If you've been doing keto or carnivore and you've started playing around with intermittent fasting or one meal a day or all kinds of fasting, there's one more type of fasting that you should know about, and it's called fat fasting. Before I dive into that, it's really important that you first keto adapt. In other words, you want to train your body to run without carbohydrates before you start implementing all kinds of fasting. And that's because you don't want to stress your body too much when you're not eating. You want your body to realize that it has a lot of calories stored in your fat cells. Even in a lean individual who doesn't really have any amount of visible excess body fat, that person is going to have around 77,000 calories worth of stored calories in their fat cells. And so you can run for a very long time on those energy stores. And when you're fasting, your body will not sense that it is in an energy crisis mode. So before you implement any kind of fasting, in order to get the full benefit of fasting, you want to make sure you are keto adapted first. Then you start playing around with different kinds of fasting, and I recommend training your body to handle longer and longer fasts gradually. You don't want to go from eating 3 meals a day to all of a sudden not eating for a full day or doing alternate day fasting. Fasting is a muscle, we train it, and as we get better and better at it, eventually you will naturally be able to fast for a longer and longer period of time. In this video, I want to focus on fat fasting. What is fat fasting? Technically speaking, you're not really fasting, you are eating, but you're tricking the body into thinking that it is still in fasting mode. And so with fat fasting, you want your meals to be around 90% fat and 10% protein and a tiny bit of carbohydrates. That way, when you are eating on a fat fasting day, you are not releasing much insulin. That's because if you're eating protein, you are still triggering some insulin. Whereas in a fat fasting meal, the protein is so limited that you don't trigger that insulin response. So on a carnivore diet, a fat fasting meal would be something like butter, just pure butter. And if you're doing a keto diet, a fat fasting meal would be something like nuts and sugar-free chocolate that's very high in fat, or maybe avocados with some salt and vinegar. I used to do that a lot back when I used to do keto. Or even you can do eggs and bacon, but keep the fat in the bacon. Don't throw it away and pour it over your eggs. And you can add some cheese on top or some extra butter. So basically play around with all of these different food ideas to make sure you're getting as close as possible to a 90% in terms of the macro breakdown of the meal. If you do fat fasting and you're testing your blood ketone levels, you're going to see that you will very quickly go into a deeper and deeper state of ketosis by doing that. Then it becomes easier to narrow the feeding window. So now you can do a fat fasting day, and instead of having 3 meals that are 90% fat, because then you'll be eating a lot of calories, and so if you want to lose weight, you won't be able to lose weight even if you're doing a fat fasting day. So over time, train your body to narrow down that feeding window until you're doing OMAD, or 1 meal a day, and that 1 meal would be a fat fasting meal that is 90% fat. That is a very powerful tool to break through a plateau because it allows your body to reverse insulin resistance even faster, and it's not as taxing on your emotional well-being as opposed to not eating for a full day. I hope this is helpful. If you want more information on the tools I use to help my clients lose weight and then maintain that weight loss, check out my weight loss guide, Dopamine Body. It is on my website, DRZALDIVAR.com/shop.